This isn't really an interview. It's a space where we let go what we think we know so we can find out what is real. My name is Timao. I'm the founder and visionary behind Sisterhood Sorcery and everything that involves. And I am here with the beautiful, amazing Peace today. And I would like to highlight her for you guys for her sensitivity and her groundedness. She's so connected to nature, but she's not flown away in the spiritual realms, and as some of the spiritual people like to get just a bit too conceptual. She's connected to the ground, she's connected to the earth, she's connected to the herbs. And I find her perception and how she shows up very refreshing and very grounding. It's just so natural when I read her post and what she says. It just feels like an exhale. It just feels right. So I'm super excited to introduce her here today, and welcome, welcome, welcome.
Wow, thank you for that. That's a deep honor to be welcomed in this way. Thank you. I love the way that you say I'm not floaty and conceptual.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're so connected. I think there is a felt sense you can feel with anybody, and you just know whether they connected or not. And it's 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 almost like a an honor, or like it's just nice to find somebody who's connected because it just creates ground for the mutual language. I find.
Mm, yeah, thank you.
I would love to start off with your childhood. In previous conversation we had, you mentioned that you were a very sensitive child to start with, and but you grown up with a mother who was already spiritual and connected. And I wonder, how did it shape your perception of reality, and how did it shape your experience as a woman growing up
Mm,
like that?
yeah, well, with this is so beautifully complex, if I may share, because as a very young child, my experience of the world was very mine. I didn't have that real nurturing into the unseen realm from my mum until I was much older. Because she was sadly, um, when I was quite young, she had severe postnatal depression. So I just want to bring in a kind of a this is sensitive. So, and she, I'm nearly 60, so you can sort of backtrack as to what the treatment was back then for somebody with postnatal. And as a woman yourself, as being a mother, you'll probably feel this in your body too. So she was taken off to the asylum when I can't remember how old I was, and given electric shock treatment for her maladies, her craziness. Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, really feel, I mean, I feel it in my heart, my higher heart right now. I feel that because, my big realization about this was when I found her suicide letter when I was probably around seven-ish. Because
Wow.
we're curious as children and we go rooting through our mother's drawers and things like that, right? We want to know what's in them, makeup and jewelry. And I found this letter apologizing for no longer being there. Luckily, she didn't. There was intervention, and she did live until she was 70. But that as a child, uh,
Can I just pause for a second? I
oh,
really I actually do feel what you're
yeah,
feeling, and I just want to
yeah,
just make some space for it. That is
yeah.
very, very
It,
tender and powerful, and I can't even begin to express how, like, just I got no words, so I'm just really feeling your pain.
Yeah, as a child, that was beyond even comprehension. And it was only in my adulthood that my young adulthood that I carried that as a
Mm.
woman growing up, thinking, Christ, I caused my mother so much pain by existing. And ooh, this is deep, right? Um,
That's not true, right?
yeah, obviously, yeah. But as a young woman, you
Yeah.
know, reconnecting with her mother in my teenage years was really when we started to talk into that, which is why it's actually deeply painful but beautiful at the same time. Out of deep pain comes immense beauty. That's how my life has been colored. um so to honor that, I spent a lot of time on my own when I was very young, and with my grandparents who just let me build dens and go and make rose water. And so I met the unseen world on my own. The doorway opened for me because I was so unhindered by adult interference, if it were. So that's when I became aware of different realms. Um, so but this was like a big, that I carried into young womanhood.
Mm.
You know,
How did that gateway opened? I would love for you to describe what did you perceive? What triggered it a bit more?
what the access to the unseen realm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think because I was always outside. So we had beautiful gardens to play in, and I would spend all my time outside. So I feel because I'll talk into this more later if it's where we go, but back then when we're children, we don't know we're actually connecting with source frequency. We just feel and see and perceive things that the adult world doesn't necessarily. So we have that raw antenna to perceive the natural world around us. But I also took it into being able to feel the room, where, as it were, around other older adults, my parents and other, grown up interactions, and I didn't like it. And so I hid myself away a lot, and I lost myself in books and, you know, things like that. So if I wasn't outside, I was reading. And I loved reading. I could just read a whole book in a couple of days as I was growing up. Because the world of the grown-ups was painful, very
Yeah.
painful. And I didn't want to be in that, you know.
Yeah. I can resonate so much, so
Yeah.
deeply to that. And I'm curious, when you were outside, what were you doing? Where did you find your peace?
I found it making dens, making hidden places to literally hide. And I used to find treasures, when we're rooting around in the earth, little broken pieces of pots or pretty stones, twigs and feathers. And I'm not even going to apologize, but I still do that today. In fact, I've got one here that I brought in from this garden where we're staying. I mean, look at
Yeah.
that, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that is amazing.
And there's a little bit of moss there on this end as well. So
Hmm.
I've added this to my twig collection.
That's a wand, that is.
Absolutely, it's a proper fairy one. So that's what I spent my days doing. And I'm collecting the rose petals and then making the rose water with them. And I remember having a metal tin. I think my granddad gave it me, and I would put all my treasures in this tin, and I would just be out there on my own for hours and talking to, well, my imaginary friends. They were
Are
so
they imaginary?
no, of course not. But that's
This is a space where I really encourage you to just completely be as crazy wild as you are naturally. Like you don't need to filter anything. The
yeah, but
more real it is, the better it is. If you are comfortable
oh,
sharing,
of course.
obviously.
Try to stop me. But hey, no, but that's what the adult imprint is. Oh, that you're not that they're not real. You're just making it up. Right? So, I grew up with all that running in the background. Yet I
Yeah.
knew that that wasn't the truth. And so I
Mm.
was one of those children that got into so much trouble because of how I perceived the world. And I never stopped getting into trouble. And I make no apology for it. I don't care. I still get into trouble now through the way that
Beautiful.
exactly. And I will not stop, because we're here on a
No, no.
a mission. We are nature is not apologetic. She's never going to say, "Oh, sorry." So why should we? I
Sorry
don't.
for being me.
Yeah,
No. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
apologize. I'm ever so grateful for all of it. I'm not harmed by it. I'm not in any way negative. This is a super incredible childhood that I did have for shaping me into the woman I am now with all those abilities and with that perception of the world that many of us have, when we're highly sensitive. Yet that there's many different beliefs that we put in place that make us less than. And I devote my life to celebrating every single sensitive part of you because they are incredible. All your sensitivities are incredible gifts. When you are able to step out of the shame or the guilt or the fear or whatever you've been imprinted with by the world that you are in. And I'm devoted to this. My mum really didn't start working her gifts until I was a teenager.
Okay.
So that was really interesting. So I was about 14, 13 or 14 when she stepped in to her gifts. Um, and that was another chapter.
Did she teach you or inspire you to step more into your gifts at that point?
Yeah. So it was through now we know differently the spiritualist arena. So the psychic mediumship and that kind of world. I mean, I have a different perception of that now as a grown ass queen. But at the time when you're an impressionable teen, again, you're still being imprinted upon by those in your peer circles and your adult circles. So, but I always felt, do you know what I mean? I felt the energy of people and I knew there was fucking predators in there.
Mm.
And luckily, I was protected. I was from these predatory men. Some of us don't get off so fucking easy, and that angers me. That is where my rage, my sacred rage lies, because we know about this, right? Because it's right here now in our faces. Um, and luckily, I think my dad actually was the anchor because he didn't believe in it. So he would prevent me going into certain situations with my mom. Um, so he was my
Sorry,
protector.
what did he not believe in?
He didn't believe in the woo-woo, the spiritual stuff.
And
He
that
was,
protected you.
yeah, and he protected me because
Okay.
he anchored the energy in the home. Uh,
Mm.
there's more to that. Because I lost my dad when I was 16. He was only 37. So, but at that time, I feel that his intervention with me going into certain situations
Yeah.
and my Like, yeah, you're not coming fucking, I'm not fucking sitting next to you, dude. I don't, you've got shady ass energy at 14. Can you know what I mean? You discern, even when you don't know that that's what you're discerning at the time, you just
Yeah.
feel. Um, so there was that going on. And then my dad had his first heart attack. And then he had a second one and died. And that changed his perception because he had an out of body experience on the table in the hospital with the paddles on his chest. Um, so my dad then started going, actually, there's something here. You know, we don't just have this body, something else happens. So that was really interesting. Um, but sadly, I mean, he ended up having a triple heart bypass. And then I think it was about, yeah, 2 years later, and he passed away. So, yeah, when I was 16. So I'm just trying to do the timeline thing.
Yeah.
So, but at the time, that's when everything was coming in for me, all the senses, the clair sense, you know, hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting. There's something happens as we're growing into ourselves at that
Mm.
tender point, I feel. And I literally saw my dad standing next to his coffin the day of his cremation. And I was like, and it freaked me the fuck out. And I
Mm.
had to go and seek, what the heck have I just seen? It was a joyful moment, but at the same time, it was like, because it was less like he was literally there with a pint in one hand and his snooker cue in the other, leaning on his fucking coffin. And I'm like, well, hang on a minute. What the fuck? As you
Yeah.
were, as a 16-year-old impressionable young woman. So, and my mum was in the mediumship circles, the stage mediums, and one of the beautiful Doris Seed was her name. She said, "Don't worry, my love." She says, "You're just getting your sight." She said, "We'll look after you. There's nothing to be
Mm.
scared of when you see the other side." So that was the kind of real fucking initiation into, there's definitely so much more than we're told by adults, you know? Uh,
Yeah, I would love to just point out like how lucky you were in that sense. I mean, obviously you had such difficulties as well, but the fact that people were around you and they could just support you in those gifts and not shut it down, it's something I personally haven't had, and most of us, I would say, don't
mm,
have because we are born into families who are completely from a different
yeah.
timeline or just a different space, and we are born there to make the difference, and that can be such a lonely place. And
Mm,
I remember when I've always had a different perception than everybody else, but nobody confirmed it and nobody could see that in me, so it just ended up being numbed down to a point that I was going through life. I was doing so many incredible things, but I didn't feel anything in return. I was very good at feeling sad, but
mm,
that was about it. There's nothing else I could feel. And only when I started awakening, or like my senses were coming back, I could perceive energy and perceive all these crazy things. And I don't see things visually, but I feel it in all the senses of the world. And um and I remember for years I did not dare to say it to anybody other than my partner who was with me at the time. And even him, the fact that he didn't think I was crazy, it just gave me so much of a stability. Like, okay, I'm not crazy. And slowly, 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 I found more people and I got to believe in myself. So I'm really glad that you did have that support you had growing up.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was mixed, don't get me wrong. My childhood was far from fully nourished and supported,
Yeah.
but I did have certain, like you say, certain happenings and events in my life that made me realize that what I was perceiving was not completely batshit. But like you say, then we go into another 7-year cycle of our becoming, and then, life shuts you down. And then you think, oh, well, I've got to now go to school, I've got to go to college, I've got to get a job, I've got to do this, because that's what life tells you you've got to do. So I went through quite a long period, and that was my horse career when I was in a professional horsewoman, where I was just horses, 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 horses and booze. That was my life for nearly a decade, and diet pills, and
Yeah.
because I was in an industry that demanded so much physically from you. Yeah, it was very stressful at the same time. So my entire life was living, breathing horses, and I loved that. And it wasn't really until I think my 20s where an accident stopped all that. I had a really bad accident. I couldn't ride anymore and compete, and I carried on teaching and coaching, but I couldn't ride anymore. I was too damaged by that situation. Then I started coming back online, so to speak, because my life was slower, so I could hear and see and touch and taste more again. So amazing, isn't it? How when we slow down, that's when it happens,
Mm.
and that's when
And
I
we can be
started.
so resistant to slowing down as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So resistant.
Because our world doesn't say that that's needed, right? It says, slowing down and doing nothing is a fucking luxury. We don't want you to do that.
Mm. We want you to work harder, 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 faster, faster.
Yeah, exactly. So, but horses were my biggest teacher, of this awakening, because they see the world so differently, and they're incredible beings.
Mm.
And now, to be able to breathe with a horse, I get shivers now, even though I don't ride. I've not ridden for 20 plus years. When you breathe and become part of that horse, you're transported somewhere else. It's magical. But I only did that when I couldn't compete anymore.
Yeah, I spent years working with horses as well. And I've been always a dog person. So for me, the dogs give me what you just described with horses. But when I encountered horses, oh my God, it's that nobility. That's what comes to my mind. The true sense of nobility. And people twisted that word so much, but the real sense of it is just beautiful, like that heart space of majestic being. And yeah, and when you connect to them, it's just, yeah, you are taken to a whole different world. And the healing powers of the horses, every time I come anywhere near a horse, I feel the need to just cry in reverence to the horse. And what I find really, really agitating and upsetting is the culture around the horse. Like, it's just the total opposite. Like, they are using it, and there's so much aggression and violence and misunderstanding. And but like, the horse, they need the horse, they want the horse for their own well-being, and the horse is there sort of unable, not even unable, because he could defend itself, but it's choosing not to. This is what the animal world teaches us. They are non-violent, right? But even though people treat the horse in horrific ways, the horse just gives and gives and gives and gives, and I think that's why people are drawn to it, for the power of healing.
Yeah, I mean, I resonate with all beings, teach us. All animals are here to bring us back into coherence and all-knowingness. That's what I truly believe, just as nature is. It's like, I often sit and I look back through all the timelines of humanity, and then I get quite sweary and go, are you fucking kidding me? We're still dumb as fuck, that we haven't actually evolved beyond that, taking domination, using. I don't call that to everyone, obviously, because there's so many of us that do feel the world the way we feel, and know that what is happening to humanity and from humanity is actually not okay, never has been. And we can't really unpack that right now, but it's like when you go up to the realm of wherever you want to call it, and you look back in and you go, really? Seriously, you're still not getting it, are you? Rinse and repeat. You're never going to actually step out of this societal conditioning until you step into the realm of creator, which is nature, animals, all livingness, the breath, the ether. Step out of the human doing. And that is where my fire comes from, because we end the trance. We are the ones here to end the trance, to transcend that. I truly believe. We can no longer turn a blind eye. I'm being really careful what I'm saying here. For obs reasons. To the very fact that this has been going on for, I don't even know if we can track back that far, even in different timelines, different existences we've got memory of. So, and animals and nature are the medicine and the wisdom that bring us back into that place of creation.
Yeah.
So, really truly believe that.
Yeah, beautifully said. So as a child, I think every child is highly sensitive, but we develop this armor around us for strength, but it's really tricky because it doesn't actually give you strength. What it does, it takes your sensitivity away. It gives you like this barrier from the world. And then after a while we realize that fuck, I can't even feel anything. I can't connect to people, right? So because there's nobody there to guide us, to actually make us strong, not hard, strong. Strong means that you maintain your sensitivities, but you're strong enough to carry yourself open and sensitive in the world around you, because sensitivity is like a superpower. It's your skill. And I remember seeing the dogs being used and just being lost on the streets and being chucked out. And as a child, I was telling my dad that there's a lost dog on the street and I want to go and get it. And he wouldn't let me. Like he wouldn't let me do the right thing because he says I'm gonna get in trouble or it's just too much of a hassle. And that really hurt me. And later on as well, every time I see humans do cruelty against animals, there is this fire awakens inside of me, and I just want to burn the place to the ground, like destroy everything what humanity has created, right? And it took a long time for me to kind of understand maybe where that is coming from. And now I can kind of trace it back to the feminine. The feminine, the feminine is the earth, and the earth is really angry now. She's fed up. She's no longer having what have been subjecting her to. And in a woman, I think that natural state rises more than men. Maybe. I think so. And yeah, I think there is a saying that you can see the consciousness or yeah, like maybe the consciousness of humanity or the society based on how they treat animals, and it is really interesting to go around the world and see different countries and how they handle and treat animals, or even just a human being. Every single human being, what do you do when you lose it? Are you gonna hurt the dog, or are you just gonna maintain self-control? What are you gonna do? And yeah, and that heartlessness, I think, is the root cause of all the pain humanity has suffered and inflicted upon itself. Um,
Yeah.
because I don't think it's human, that issue, because the native people had it. They all had initiations and they all had guidance for humans to actually become human beings, but the Western civilization have just forgotten, and
Yeah.
yeah,
It is forgetting. Totally a forgetting. We've forgotten our divinity. We've
yeah,
forgotten the depth of connection to all that is. And that's painful as a highly sensitive, very painful. But also brings, does it not, deep compassion. I've worked an awful lot deeply in compassionate understanding. Um, does it make it less painful? No. Um, Personally, it's helped me see the wounding, the pain in others as to why they react this way. But my God, it does not make it any easier or any less painful. But you are right in your observations, totally right. And I often wonder when will we see the tipping point? And we know that it's coming, right? We know that we're now in Gaia consciousness. So it's like we can feel all we feel. We can feel that sadness. We can feel all of the things that we feel. Yet we know now we're in this time of being incredibly blessed to be here right now on this timeline, witnessing what we're witnessing, working with Gaia consciousness, devoting ourselves to the path that we've chosen as highly sensitive, soul-led. I love the word leaders because, and we talk about this a lot, what is leadership? It means so much more than what the word says. We have to lead. We cannot be passive, comforted, numbed, distracted anymore. Fuck me. I have been talking about this. I can't remember how long. Like I said, I'm nearly 60 now, right? And it's been a long. It used to feel like the hardest slog ever to
yeah,
actually arrive here right now. I never thought we were going to get here, you know? So it's a beautiful, pivotal moment in time.
you arrived, or do you think there is a way to go yet?
We have a way to go yet. Yeah. Who was I speaking to the other day? I think it was, yeah, it was our dear friend Maureen, who's given us the stewardship of some land. And she's in her 80s. And I always say, I was sat in her kitchen, I'm going, Maureen, that we are probably not going to see the full, we're just not, but the children will, and their children are going to see it. We are the ones that signed up to walk through the threshold to get to this point. That's what my belief is. We chose this timeline at the moment we chose it, however old we are right now, however young we are right now. And subconsciously we knew that we weren't going to be the ones to fully see it all come back into cohesion and balance. But it's beautiful knowing that our children and grandchildren will be the ones that steward the future on Gaia. But we have to really keep on. We can't just go, oh, it's all right, we've got this point now, we can relax. No. We don't get that.
Yeah, it wouldn't happen then.
No, it would not happen. We can't take our foot off. We just can't. That's ridiculous. So yeah, we are the stewards right now of this sacred ecosystem. And we are the ones that are gonna be the ones that never allow the children to be dimmed and shut down. We are the ones to celebrate everything that they feel. Going back to, yourself as a parent, and celebrate every little thing that they share with us, every flower they bring us, every fairy they see. Right?
Yeah. So if you could talk a bit more about this moment in time, why is this such a turning point?
Ooh, okay. So I've got somebody else you need to interview.
Yeah.
She's an amazing astrologer who you must have Felicity on your show, please. She's incredible. So she and I work very closely together in what we're bringing forward and what we see together, because we see and perceive differently, but the same. So we, right now, we know that I think because what we're seeing in plain sight, everything that is being strategically revealed, let's just say that, because we're really conscious about what we speak into with what we're observing in the world. Everything is being brought right into, and it has since 2019, right? This is when it started really, they're really testing where our compliance levels are.
Okay, yeah.
We'll just leave 2019 as the marker for this one. And everything else, it's been kind of like tumbling out of the dryer since. Everything's been spilling out drip by drip, but now there's a deluge of all this utter shit coming into our vision. Those of us that are, because there's a massive majority of the humanity that are just like, shut up, I'm just watching my EastEnders and reading my newspapers. Let's just park that there. No judgment. But we have, this is all by divine design, everything. This is literally written into the scientific blueprints, the planetary blueprint, everything, whatever you believe about that. And that comes down into our field through creator consciousness. It's all linked. And we can't deny it anymore, that nothing happens without us being ready to receive it in the way that we receive it. So we're at that point now where we entered the year of the fire horse, as we know, on the 17th of February. I'm not an astrologer. I'm not into Chinese New Year's or anything like that. I feel everything beneath all these things. So I'm aware of codes and frequencies and the nuances of everything. That's where I speak from, not from trainings in these modalities and things, these excellent things. I leave that to those that are, which is why I say Felicity's got to come on. So, we've been in a 9-year cycle of drudge and struggle and literally, I talk about 9 years and I want to vomit. The energy is that dense, which we've just come out of. And I literally am still, I feel the last remnants of that being burned away by the fire. And we're in a 1 year And we're in a 7-year cycle where this era of fire is really. So we've gone through the initiation into Gaia consciousness and everything that's coming forward, right? And how we navigate the next 7 years, not to another till we get to the completion of a 9 again, 2033. So we've got 2026 to 2033. I've written a whole thing about this.
Yeah.
I've got a roadmap or a blueprint that you can navigate this with. Is an incredible time to steward really well, to step into your leadership, to step into everything you've ever wanted to create. All of this fire energy is just grounded, though, right? It's not, you've got to realize that playing with fire is a saying for a reason.
Love it. I love the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so it's like, how do we, because I'm an earth sign, so I transmute fire and ground it, which is really good because, my doshas are Kapha, Pitta, so earth and fire. And so I'm weaving this energy for so long. And now I'm like, oh, yes, let's go at last, fuck's sake.
Yes.
All the yes.
I'm a very explosive first person. My energy is very intense, and I tend to trigger everybody around me. And only very recently, because of the fire year, I'm realizing the power of containment. Okay, and learning how to control my fire and not just allow it to burn as a wildfire all the time, which I love, but to just learn how to control the fire and use it exactly as much as you want it, exactly in the right place. And it's a totally different game.
It is, isn't it? And you said that magical word, containment.
Yeah.
Incredible, and this is how we really truly rise in this new matriarchal spiral flow of leadership and earth stewardship, Gaia consciousness, healing the wounds of all the previous patriarchal, corporate. I can't even speak into that because it is that, again, that horrible, dense narrative that, we are part of weaving the new spirals in these ecosystems. You look behind me, this is a spiral herb garden that we planted.
Yeah.
And we're actually going back to this very spot of land to do this all over again. Spirals in nature is that's so intrinsic. Everything is about Fibonacci and the spiral. The old world is not, and that's the dissonance ending now. That is where the distortion, now we can.
Yeah. I think, those people thinking in straight lines, how life just starts and then it finishes and you go in straight line, and learning happens in straight lines, or even just life. It really doesn't. And I've had people call me crazy because I was going in circles, in loops. And, you got the loops of the kind of loops you don't want to do, the trauma loops, but, expansion happens and then you go down and then you will go up again, but even higher, and then you go down again and you go all over the bloody fucking place. But you're still going forward. And love what you said about this matriarchal energy coming, but I also think because of the containment coming in, I do think the masculine is rising in a way that supports the feminine.
Yes.
And it's a completely new feeling I've been feeling from men. It's safety with strength. And it's something I have been missing all my life from anybody I was interacting with. It was always strength or safety. The two together, they just didn't go together. But now I feel like that is coming to be able to, because feminine couldn't rise, would be no container for it to rise with. And that is the healthy masculine. The masculine is what contains this entire bubble of energy.
I totally
Yeah, so
agree. And thank you. Yes. I was going to sort of go into that as well, because it is vital, you know, this, because I feel the pain of our brothers as well.
mm,
My body, through conversation, through so many different ways. And we need to really ask them and seek deep connection with them, to hear them, right? To hear their story of their pain, of having their entire world ripped away from them. You know, when we hear the elders speak about how they are here to protect the women so the women can do the work of the weaving, you know, they've lost their warriorship. And that, I cried when I heard an elder say that. And I thought, this is it. This is the medicine that we've taken away. I don't mean we, but this society, the patriarchal society, is stripped because of that way, you know. And it is, I feel it's a whole humanity restoration back into divine blueprint, you know, where
yeah.
there is no hierarchy, there is no bullshit,
Mm.
you know, there just is that pure divine. We are the cauldron that we weave in the cauldron, and our beautiful men are there as the anchor points for the magic.
As you were speaking about this, what came to me was how men were stripped of their strength. And now I want to go into this a little bit, but because, you know, sometimes you can say something and it doesn't really convey the meaning behind it. So, so I think men without strength, they cannot do what they need to do. And therefore, you strip men away from what makes them a man. Now, that ultimately emasculates men and turns them into something else entirely. It's so deep. It's very simple. It's very genius if you think about it. If you want to come up with something to do consciously to damage the man or nature, so do you just do that? And then we can also go back to what it means to what is strength, you know?
Mm.
Is it domination? Because domination has been very twisted as well. Strength, in my eyes, or how I see it, comes from the heart of the man. Now, if you strip away men from their heart, then their power will come from where exactly?
Mm.
I don't know. From the shadows, you know. Who knows? Who's in control? Because it's not the man. What actually even stuns me, most men don't even understand or even realize the depth of the pain. You know, we can feel it. I can weep for them. I can feel the deep grief of what they have been missing and what I have been missing, right? But it's they are missing it just as much or even more. And in the old times, we talk about there were knights, and I love this, right? King Arthur and people around the king had the knights around, and they were guided by the code of the heart, and those are absolutely essential for a man to be able to be strong and
Mm.
have clarity and direction, to be able to know what he's supposed to do and what he's not supposed to do, not because he's taught by something else from the outside, it's because it's in line with life.
Mm. Yeah, that in line with life, totally, not anti-life. Yeah, completely connected to our very breath. Yeah, totally. And I do feel this is something that more and more of us will begin to weave into how we walk and express through this life now, connecting in with each other in a different way, so that the forgetting, is the forgetting is stopped, and we really start remembering, and that union again through the heart, because our heart is our strongest biofield emitter, right? Everything comes from that intelligence. But like you said earlier, we've been closed off from heart consciousness because of this ridiculousness, this mess we've got ourselves into.
After every mess, usually, a reconciliation, and it makes the relationship better. So who knows? I think I can see the light, the end of the tunnel now. I couldn't see it for a long time, but now I can, and
Absolutely.
I'm super excited.
Yes, and that's the thing, isn't it? It's really looking towards now, instead of what's the word? Always looking into the darkness. We have walked through so much darkness, shining our light brighter and brighter and brighter, never stopping, not turning away from the darkness we individually have experienced. It's time, isn't it, now that we focus on what we are creating instead of constantly looking behind us at the literal trail of tears behind us. Because that snaps us back into that reality. It's really the frequency we are focused on is how we really create what we're stepping into with every breath.
What are you stepping into? What are you creating?
What am I, or what are we? We're part of.
Right, you, and then the bigger picture as well.
Yeah. So what I've been devoted to creating in the dreaming, I say, I term it in the dreaming because that's where we birth things. That's how I say that. This is not definitive, guys. This is my opinion, my perception. Take what you will, leave what you don't resonate with. We've got to have that caveat, right? I express through the dreaming that this is where we bring creation forward in the dreaming. This is deep lineage work. I don't use the term shaman, but this is the medicine work that we do in the liminal space, in the moments between. So I've been in that dreaming for a long time. So every moment of my beingness is to create this timeline of reciprocity, being well resourced for recreating a world where everyone has enough, where we have clean food, we have access to grow our own food, we have access to clean water, we have all of these things that this beautiful planet gifts us when we stop annihilating her wisdom and start living in harmony with her. And I know a lot of people will be going, well, how the heck do we do that when we've reached so much destruction? This is why we're in the restoration phase. Restoration of self goes out into the restoration of Gaia. So we have to start 0 point with ourselves and ripple that out by constant devotion to this path. So that's my work. You know, I'm devoted to everything that I do, everything that I be. And I never waver from that, even when I'm in tears going, this is so hard sometimes to actually translate into language, you know, the way I perceive.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Because that is the world that I live in, and that is the messages that I'm getting from that realm. This is how we do it. This is how we weave the new reality into being. So what we're creating, what my little creation is, my legacy, because this is not about, this is the biggest thing. This is bigger than us. I'm ever grateful for that being a mantra. This is bigger than us. When we get out of the what's in it for me, what do I get out of it? The biggest fucking irritation for me about humans is their selfishness in the negative form of selfishness. There's being selfish, as in, I matter because if I don't put me first, I can't fucking help anyone.
Yeah.
You know? So there's different sides to selfishness. You know, most of us are selfless when we give and give and give and give and give, and then we're done. We have nothing else to give. So my legacy is about helping others see, experience, step into their highest reality in the ways that we do within our circles and things, in our communications. So my legacy is always land. Land is the biggest legacy we can ever look after. And to do that, we've created an interconnected ecosystem that we're bringing through with our soul space, which is called Inner Sanctum. And this is a land stewardship-based soul space of belonging, where energy comes in and goes through me and into the land. And then from the land, she gives back in reciprocity from what you can see behind me.
Nice.
We are taking we're lifting the gateway or the gatekeeping away from herbalism and land stewardship. We're making this accessible through it, whatever way it becomes, because I'm not the one that's, you know, it has to be this way. You know, it's just, this is nature. This is what she's saying to me. Let's have a look. What could we do with this? So we have this legacy that we're building within Inner Sanctum. And inside that, what we're sharing together is there's nothing we don't talk about. You know, as we grow, more and more medicine is going to pour forth. More and more of us are going to step out of our limiting beliefs and wounds and old patterns and blah, blah, blah. Have conversations like this, you know, where we can express our fucking rage at what's happening and our elation at what we're birthing, everything between, where we're not going to get judged for anything we say. Nobody's rushing to fix or rescue or this. We are sovereign in our stewardship of ourself from our mind out. And it's powerfully beautiful and so fucking simple when you strip away the complications that we put on things. You look at nature, she's not fucking complicated. She just is. She's everywhere. She's the all that is. That's why I say God, source, nature, they're the same bloody thing.
Yeah.
You know, they just are, unapologetically, undeniably. And all that is there to show us that this unapologetic undeniability of taking up fucking space, expressing your magnificent beauty, your sensitivity, your petals and your thorns, your roots and your canopy of fruit, all of this, bring it, bring it, bring it, bring it, bring it. Be abundance, be sacred and infinite in your giving and your receiving. And that's what I'm personally weaving, in my spare time.
Yeah, just that. That's all I'm doing. I love it. You just, I want to express that it's so important to have spaces like this because, yes, it is very simple but very complex at the same time. So you just can't just simplify it, right? Because it doesn't give you the reality
No.
back.
No.
And me coming from my perspective, when I had this whole process, I had to learn how to create not from a mind space, but just how to create from what actually wants to be created. And you touched upon the selfishness, like people do need to be selfish to a level, but not too much. Like you have to be in the center, not selfless, but not selfish. And what was I gonna say? So yeah, learning how to create in face of like scarcity, like you have no idea how you actually gonna make a living in this world because you do somehow have to be connected to the money side of things. But then what is trying to come through me or you or us in this sense is so different from the world of money that they just almost don't really interlock until you get far enough and you realize that, yeah, actually they do. But you just have to go through this long process of trust and do think what you are guided to do. And obviously the tricky part again is to have clear enough sight of, yeah, this is actually what's required. No, this is my ego telling me this is what I should do. And holding yourself in that space is an art in itself. So yeah, thank you so much for having this space for people, creating almost like a little safe pocket, I would say, out of the world where people can experience what it means to be sovereign and human again, because you do need to show people what it means to be sovereign.
Not in the woo either, not in that, like you said earlier, in that conceptual way of accessing all that we can access in the infinite realm. This is grounded, actually scientific. In the quantum realm is so scientifically grounded that humans, we are the biggest super fucking computer ever.
Yeah.
There is nothing more supercomputer than we are.
Yeah, it gives me the laugh when I see all this tech stuff being developed and like, yeah, we can do this, we can do that. I'm like, you can just do that by yourself. Just learn how to do this inside yourself, and then you don't have to create all these little gadgets and blah blah blah. I mean, obviously there's a good side of creating those things, but I think there has to be a balance of don't take the power away from people. Like, yeah, give them the help, but don't take the power away from people because they can do it themselves just as it is as well.
Absolutely. And we're talking deeply into money right now as well. We're transcending the wounded healer archetype, where we've got to remain broke because if we're not pure and holy enough.
Yeah.
And that in itself is a massive subject, incredibly huge. And like you said, we need in this world to receive. We need to access receivership. I call it sacred receivership. Because we are not meant to live in the system that we are forced to live in. That is not pro our divine blueprint whatsoever. It's the anti-divine blueprint, the way that societies around the world have put an onus on selfishness. Take from every possible way to climb over each other, to get to the top, whatever the fuck that is. You know, me, I'm going the opposite way. I'm rooting down, you know, through creator consciousness, Gaia consciousness. We're rooting down, because we're strong roots. We are unshakable. And that's the opposite, right, to the society we live in. In a way.
Well, you know, there's a good picture or saying, you know, you can't go high unless you have the roots just as deep, otherwise you just fall apart. So you can go up in heaven and thought and do this and that, but if you're not backed up down here, you don't have the strength to hold yourself, anchor yourself, you just blow away.
So that brings you back into sovereignty again. If you are fully anchored and unshakable, you are the most sovereign being. You know, connected to creator. And that is phenomenally powerful to step into that frequency, where infinite receiving is like a breath, in, out, never ending.
Yeah, just to kind of close it off and come to an ending, I would love to hear, based on everything we just shared today, is there anything you want the listeners to take away with themselves? Any message you want to convey?
Oof. I just feel that what others like us are creating, because what you're weaving is so interconnected with what we're weaving. And this is the thing. When we look at this interconnectedness of all things, how strong is that? As opposed to oh, it's all falling down, Jenga. So I feel that it's really, this might not kind of land probably the way I want it to, but hey, we'll go for it. It's vital to find your community. It's vital to stand in sovereignty, but not alone. You know, something that I speak about is how humans are so fucking good at wanting their tribe, their soul family, their community, but they're not prepared to step out of separateness to get there. It rattles my beads.
Okay.
Rattles me beads. Because you see all this, you know, there's still that separateness mentality in, I'm just going to struggle on my own, but this is what I actually want. And I hear it in every single voice that steps into my circles, in my comments and my DMs. In, you know, and it's like the biggest fucking brainwashing that's happened to us. We've got to struggle on. I don't know about you guys. I'm fucking done with struggling on. I have not really wanted to be in separateness for so long. I don't mean like we all live together in a bloody commune and sing Kumbaya every night or anything like that, you know, because you don't have to all live in one space to be togetherness, to be community. You know, there's so many nuances to that. But when we actually link in, find where you feel resonance with others, Usually starts online, but there's an upcoming now of in-person events as well. This is something we're really wanting to do as well, is have meeting with people and sitting together, eating food together, just talking, working on the land, or, whatever, is to get that togetherness back. And so realize that you carry, this is where we're going, okay, you carry so much. Anyone that's listening to this, you carry so much on your own. Your bag is so full. You are depleted. There's no getting away. Your nervous system is absolutely done. I know, because these are the women that I work with. This was me. I didn't know how fucking unregulated I was. I didn't know the weight I was carrying until I stopped and put it fucking down and said, I'm not carrying this on my own anymore. And that's why our community is online, because we're in constant contact. Then if we're online, we can just drop in at any moment, and then we weave together and let's do a retreat. Let's all just hire somewhere together and we can do shit, and it's fun as well. Put it down. Find a place you can put down your bag. Take off your bra and exhale.
Yep.
We women, some of our men folk will know what it's like to take off your bra at the end of the day. The most important, anytime you can take off your fucking bra, you take it off and you go, fuck.
Yeah.
Right? Or
Yep.
your shapewear or whatever the fuck. Right? Take off your spandex. That's life. What life has done to us. Put it down. Exhale. Land. Arrive. And begin to root back into your true divine blueprint. And the true divine blueprint is another fucking episode altogether. We can go into that. I'll probably do something on that at some point. Please don't do it on your own. Please come into spaces where we weave together in the dreaming and in reality creation. That's probably my biggest message.
I love it. Beautiful. Thank you. And it's very appropriate to me as well. Yeah, it was really, I could feel it, and I can feel it. And I know anybody who listens will feel it too. So yeah, tell people how they can reach you. Any website or social handles?
Yeah. So obviously on Facebook, I'm Peace Ravenwood. There's only me with that. I obviously, with my website, it's peaceravenwood.co.uk. I know you're gonna put the thingy in the thingy below the video, etc. So step in is my breath, is step in to sovereignty within a sovereign community where we're all remembering together. Do we know everything? No. But let's remember together, because it makes it so much less weighty. So we have inner sanctum, which is our soul space of belonging. This is the sacred receivership and stewardship of the land through our inhale, exhale together. And then I offer soul midwifery, which is 6-month container one-to-one with myself, where you can literally take off every single mask you have worn your entire life and your entire timelines, and step into who you are here to be now in your sacred leadership. And I also offer short-term deep dives for when long containment is not aligned right now as well. So we can sit together in a very focused place and address what's arising for you and how to move you through and out of that into your leadership that way. So I have a very specific ecosystem there that is utterly divine, and I love it. But it all comes back to what's behind me.
Yeah.
She breathes through everything I do.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, and I really enjoyed feeling your energy and just spending this time with you. I can feel the groundedness, I can feel the fire, and I can feel the yeah, oh my God, I can't say it. How highly sensitive you are. I can feel it. I can feel, you know, the love you have for nature by how you show up and how you express yourself. And that is very um, beautiful for me to feel, because I haven't found a lot of people who share that vulnerability, actually, because you didn't need to share it. Yeah. Well, women are the weavers, you know. We weave rugs and we weave everything together, and but we weave reality as well. All the unseen things of what people can't see in this world. That's what we do. But that
We do.
doesn't make it less important. Actually, it's even more important, if anything. So, yeah, thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you, Tamaya, because, you know, I feel that the way you are weaving also is, like I say, you know, we are the in and the inhale and the exhale within our ecosystem that is connected. And it's beautiful to do to walk this path with you by your side. Thank you.
Mm, yeah, it's not about competition. It's about, supporting each other, because we go all going to the same way. We all
Yeah,
going towards the same direction.
exactly.
It's a different way. So,
Exactly. This is the beauty of what we're doing. You know, there is no, we're ending the competition and the elitism and the exclusivity. You know,
yeah.
we're not about that at all. We don't bring exclusivity. This is inclusivity. You can't inhale without exhaling.
Mm, yeah. Woo! Wow, that was really great. I really enjoyed it.
So thank you so much for being here and listening. If this resonates, you can find out more about my work on sistersorcery.com, and see you next time.